What's up everyone? Today, we're gonna talk about the EOS R5, but not in the way you're thinking. So I recently got the EOS R5 and I also recently had a wedding about one day after I got it. Now I didn't get much time hands-on with the camera before the wedding, but I went right into it, shot the wedding, and today we're gonna go over what I found out, what I didn't like, and what I did like. Let's just get into it and let's talk about it. So let's put a big disclaimer here. I did not shoot in 4K or 8K whatsoever. You can shoot in 4K on this camera, but you can only shoot in 4K, 24 and 30 with a regular SD card, and a CF Express card is needed for mostly everything else. There are a few exceptions, but I don't have a CF Express card yet. It's coming in the mail, and we will be doing some awesome testing on the 4K and 8K with real world applications such as a car commercial. So stay tuned for that. Feel free to hit that subscribe button down below if you want to stay tuned for that. So I shot in 1080-60 the entire day. It was an outdoor wedding, all in the sun, things you would normally have at a wedding. And surprised it may be, it did not overheat. I was shooting in 1080, so that's partially the reason probably why it didn't. However, if you use the camera as intended by Canon, which is on their website, it probably won't overheat ever for you. So it just depends on who you are. So let's just go over a few things I did and did not like about this camera. The image looks really good. Surprisingly looks a little bit different in post as the EOS R. I both shot them in log and I compared them. The log looks a little bit different on the EOS R5, even though they shoot at the same bit rate. So the EOS R and the R5 both have the same exact settings, bit rate, bit depth, everything when you're shooting in 1080 and 4K 24 and 30. Once you get above that, which the R doesn't do, you get into abnormally high bit rates in the 1500 to 9000 megabits per second. So that's another day, another story. There was no stutter, no lag, no issues, and I did film the entire day. I was constantly shooting, like literally no breaks. It was a super busy wedding. Like I said, the shots look really good, super crisp, super nice. A few things I liked about the actual EOS R, they replaced the button on the back. It's your scroll wheel now. That was super handy. You can make that a function to do certain things, like change the autofocus mode, which is what I have mine set at. They also gave you the dial back up top instead of the touch bar, which nobody used. Then a few other things like just the nicer on-off button. It's easier to get to, easier to press on-off. As I mentioned before, it does shoot in the same bit rate and all that as the R, which means it does take up a very similar amount of data. No bigger file sizes when you're shooting in 1080, as well as 4K 24 or 30. It's the same, so you don't have to worry about like needing a bigger SD card. And then last but not least, about the things that I did like about this camera is that the autofocus is one of the best autofocuses I have ever seen in my life. So I had it on eye tracking autofocus the entire day. It did a really good job of finding a person. If it couldn't find a face, it would track the head. If it couldn't really distinguish between a head, it would track the whole body. It did a really good job of continuously following the person and then immediately finding the eye when the person came around and you could see the person. I would love to give a more in-depth review on just the autofocus or make a video showing how great it is. I don't think it lost focus or got distracted by like a background object even once. So it was absolutely great. There was honestly not that many things I did not like. So the first thing is this camera shoots 4K 120 frames per second, which is phenomenal, awesome, great. The camera does not shoot 1080 120. Which is very confusing because if it can shoot 4K 120, why can't it shoot 1080 120? And you may be asking why, do I need 1080 120? Well, I don't necessarily want to pay a few grand in CF Express cards just to get some shots at a wedding in 4K 120 when I shoot full weddings in 1080 because I personally don't see a need to shoot in 4K. So if I'm shooting something that's not relevant to be in 4K or 8K or whatever, I would really still prefer to shoot some 1080 120 shots, even if they're, weddings or just random stuff that I would like to put on an SD card instead of putting on a CF Express card because CF Express cards are very expensive. So that's kind of a pet peeve that I found that was quite confusing that they didn't put in the camera. The only other thing I did not like about this camera was the battery life. Canon is very well known for, at least in my opinion, their battery life being amazing. My EOS R, I can go an entire 8-hour wedding day with just one LPE6 battery. And this is supposed to have the LPE6NH or HN battery, which is supposed to be better. The firmware helps it out by giving it like 10% better battery life. I made it about 3.5 hours into the wedding before I was on 1 bar. On my R, I usually get about 6 to 8 hours in before I'm on 1 bar. So it was quite dramatically different than the R. However, the one factor that differs here is I was using active tracking eye focus on the R5, and I don't normally use that on the R because it is hit or miss sometimes. So that could be a very great depending factor on the battery life. But just keep that in mind, that could be the reason the battery life isn't that great. So let me know in the comments below, if you do have an R, how long does your battery usually last, and what autofocusing mode do you use, slash, you know, what frame rate and resolution. But that's besides the point. So that was really all I did not like about the camera. All in all, honestly, it's a very good camera. Stay tuned for the next few weeks when I'm going to be doing some testing. And this will be over the overheating issues that literally everybody is complaining about. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below about the R5. That's kind of it for today, guys. New setup here, moved into a new apartment. Give me some pointers because I really don't know what to do here. So that would be very helpful and beneficial, or if you like this, that'd be great because this was a pretty simple setup for me. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you like this, and you will be seeing more content on the EOS R5 soon. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, and I'll see you on the next one.